I'll jump in real quick and just say I was really blown away by capacity, both the peers that I had and then also the capacity I found within myself to take on more. And that carries on later when you graduate. You want to fill the voids of time with fun projects on the side, ventures with business partners and friends, more challenges with your family, take on different vacations. I mean, it's capacity really is an amazing thing.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think the common experience, and Rachel, you'll go through this in a few months, is that first month or two out of the program, you're like, what do I do with myself? I mean, because there's this incredible, you've learned to operate at such a high capacity. When that gets lifted, it takes you a while to refill that void, and you feel like you're moving at half speed. Besides that, learning what your capacity is and finding the confidence in yourself to go on and do much greater things than you ever thought you could do. I would add what I said earlier, which is this program really does give you a license to behave differently, and people expect it out of you, and that is really, really powerful. Whether you're in your current role, going into a different role, going into a different organization. The last thing I'd say is and this has been mentioned, the intense relationships that we will keep forever. Literally today, I was emailing a member of my cohort. We graduated 10 years ago. Last week, I was in New York. I called up one of my members of my cohort. We went out and had dinner. One of the members of my cohort and I both ended the program by having kids. And we go every year now on a skiing trip, and we take our families on a ski trip. And so the relationships you will form in the crucible of what this program is, and I mean that in a good way, will change your life, and they'll be around forever.
Someone was asking me earlier outside the mistake that I made, or if I had to do it over again, and I have to be careful because I think we're being videotaped here, but the mistake that, that I shared was that I would have told my wife and family that it was a 3-year program, not a 2-year program, so I could have continued to come back every Friday and see my friends and go on for years. So don't share that, please.
Editing.
It is, so the unexpected thing for me, I also gave this answer earlier, so I'm repeating myself, but I had 2 things backwards. What I had backwards was when it would be difficult and challenging and tiring, and when it would be fun and energizing. And I thought I'd get here on weekends, and I'd be worn down by 2 days of classes, and it would be a grind while I was here, and then during the week I'd sort of make up for it. It was completely backwards. It's such a joy coming here for the payoff and being with everybody and sitting in classes and seeing your friends and your colleagues. And the difficult part, frankly, is when you're in the middle of the week doing homework and reading and papers and preparation and cases. There are, just to give one example of how close you get with the people, there are 15 of us who went on a trip the week after we finished school before we graduated. And every year since then, the same 15 people have gone on the same trip together because we're that close.
I think the key takeaway for me was much more of a personal one on how much I can do. Some of you may relate when I say this, but it's kind of like when you're pregnant and you're like, wow, and the due date's coming up, you're like, how's that going to all happen? It's sort of the same thing with WMBA, where I approach an exam or a project and I go, I don't know how I can do this with travel coming up, school, family, and really it pushes you to that point where you think you can't do it anymore, and then you do it, you get past it. And then when you're out the other end, you go, wow, I really can do that much, and it spreads out to the rest of your life in terms of work and understanding what you can do in work, family, and everything else.
I think for me, takeaways, one of my earliest and probably biggest surprise was the surprise of admission, frankly. I really was and still am humbled to be a part of this community, and so getting the letter of acceptance really was a surprise to me. I also think that I came to learn, I came to find knowledge, and what I learned in addition to that knowledge was how to be resourceful, and not always to have the answer myself, but really an approach about how to go find it. And that was important for someone who clearly wasn't the smartest kid in the class. And the last, and I know we've hit this again and again and again, is the takeaway of the people and the networking. It's really overwhelming, and each year you will meet people again and again and again that are part of this Wharton community, and that just never ends.